ओम नमः प्रणवार्ताय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अरुणगिरिं रमणयति पृथिव्यां विश्रुतं ज्ञानसूर्यं गहनहृदयविद्यां लीलया बोधयन्तं सततमहममेयं सद्गुरुं संस्मरामि। शिवं प्रपद्ये शिवदं प्रपद्ये गुरुं प्रपद्ये गुणिनं प्रपद्ये मदीयहृत्पद्मजुषं प्रपद्ये शरण्यमीशं शरणं प्रपद्ये। My humble pranams. Today I will take up some verses in Muruganar's Ramana Padamalai. As many of you may know, after Muruganar left the body, they found nearly 17,000 songs in the form of manuscripts which had not been published till then. It had not come to light. And they were all handed over to Sadhu Om Swami, who collected them later, categorized them, put them all together. And he brought it out as Ramana Jnana Bodham. And one section of Ramana Jnana Bodham is called as Ramana Padamalai. All the verses would end with this word Padam. Padam, and Murugana refers to Ramana as Padam. Yen Padam means Ramana says. So every verse. And these are all two-line verses and much easier to follow than Ramana Sannidhi Murai, which was constructed with very tough Tamil words and so on. I would like to take up the topic of Ahamukam and then see some of the verses of Muruganar. Bhagavan uses this word Ahamukam in the sense of Antarmukam. Normally we say Antarmukam as opposed to Bahirmukam, the vision that goes outside, that is Bahirmukam, and having the vision turned inwards is generally called as Antarmukam. In Lalita Sahasranamam there is a name of goddess Antarmuha Muha Samaradhya Bahirmukha Sudurlabha. But Bhagavan, for a particular reason, he uses this word Ahamukam rather than Antarmukam. Though the meaning is the same, both mean that it is a vision within, turning within. That is the meaning. But by calling it as Ahamukam, Bhagavan straight away mentions the target of what you will see, what you have to attempt to see when you go inwards. Inwards, the goal is to catch hold of this Aham, this I, because this I alone is fundamental to our entire life. Our entire life is. So Bhagavan says, once you understand what this Aham is, once you understand what this Swarupam is, most of your problems will get solved. All your problems will get solved. That's the reason why he says it is Ahamukam rather than Antarmukam. The mind is habitually wandering outside. Its very habit is to look outside, and it shies away from looking inside. Not even for a brief period would the mind like to go inside and stay there. It is designed that way. In fact, in Kathopanishad, there is a mantra, there is a verse, is in the words of Yama Dharmaraja is talking to Nachiketas. There in Kathopanishad, he says, Paranchikani. Paranchi is looking outside. It is turned outside is Paranchi. Kani means Indriyas, what we call as Pulangal, the senses. Paranchikani Yatrinat Swayambhuhu Tasmat Parang Pashyati Nantaratman. Parang Pashyati. We are designed to look outward. We have a word in Tamil, Parak Pakardun. That is the same thing, Parang Pashyati. We always look outside rather than inside, because it says here, the creator, Swayambhuhu, the creator, he has made a design mistake. There is a bug in the whole thing. He says he has set up the senses to look outward. In fact, this word Vyatrinat invites a lot of comments from a lot of people. Normally it means it is formed, it is designed, it is set in this manner. But the commentators, they go so far as to say that this creator has harmed us. Himsitavan. He has harmed us. He has messed up. He has messed up because this one particular reason is why we suffer in this world. Because the mind and all the senses, they run outside rather than inside. So they say that because of this reason, this presented as the greatest obstacle to self-realization is this particular habit of the mind always looking outside. The light from inside is carried by the senses, thrown outside, and then we are so fascinated by the images that are seen in the light rather than worry about who is the illuminator. The illumination inside is forgotten, but what is illuminated, that is caught hold of. And that is our major problem. So here the Upanishad continues to say, Kaschit Dhiraha. Once in a way, a great, courageous soul comes along, Dhiraha. Vishwanath Swami calls Bhagavan as a Dhira. Dakshinasya Nibho, Dhiro Dakshinabhi Mukaswarat. Like that the Ashtotram comes. His name is Dhira. So once in a way, a great, brave person comes along, and what he does is, he just reverses the process. What he Kaschid Dhiraha Pratyak Atmanam Aikshat. Pratyak Atmanam Aikshat. Pratyak Atmanam is the inner soul. He wants to catch hold of the inner self, and he sees the inner self by Avritta Chakshuhu, by an inturned vision. The outgoing vision is turned inwards. Avritta Chakshuhu, he uses the Avritta Chakshu. What Bhagavan calls as Ahamukam is referred to in this Upanishad as Avritta Chakshuhu. Amritatvamichanna. He is after immortality. It seems like a description of what happened to Bhagavan. The 16-year-old boy facing death, wants to get over death, and with an intensely focused mind inwards, he asked this question, now death has come. This body is going to die. And they will take this body, remove it to the crematorium at any time and burn it. But with the death of this body, am I dead? I'm able to see, I'm able to feel this eye shining within. So what is this eye? It is not the body, then what can it be? That kind of a thought process goes on in the mind of this Dhira, and he once and for all, he wakes up from the dream of this world and he becomes a Jivan Mukta at the age of 16. So this particular verse from Bhagavan's life, and exactly the same thing he says, Muruganar says, in a different way, in his Tamil version, Padamale, he says, Ayalai Kan Parvaye, Ayal is Anyam, the other. Ayalai Iyalai Maraika Irundodir Padam. Padam says, this Ayalai Kan Parvai, the one that goes out and then catches hold of the objects, the outside world, this is the main reason was as to why your own nature, your own nature is hidden from you. You are not able to catch hold of this because you are all the time worried about the things that you are seeing outside and your mind runs after them. So he says this is the major reason. So whether the Kathopanishad mantram or what Muruganar says, they point to the obstacle that we say, that we face in our sadhana, and that is the outward looking mind and the senses. They all the time go inside. Even if for a brief moment the mind stays inside, some thought process comes and pulls you out and then you go out. This is the reason why many of the people do not want to pursue Atma Vicharam at all. Because the mind, if it can be given some mantram, some japam, some swarupam to meditate upon, some rupam to meditate upon, it is very happy with it. But when you want the mind to turn inside and look at its own self, this I amness, then it finds it very, very difficult to do that. Many people give up this. But then, the only way that that bug can be fixed, the bug of having the senses messed up, that can be fixed only by this process of ahamukam. So, Muruganar says in some other place, நாட்டை விட்டு காட்டு வழி நாடல் ஒழிந்து உன்முகத்தே அகமுகத்தே உன்முகத்தே நாட்டத்தை மாற்றி நடக்கை நன்று என் பாதம். Padam says Muruganar, நாட்டை விட்டு. Nadu, generally the meaning is a desha. But in this context, it is the home, your own home. You leave your home, நாட்டை விட்டு, காட்டு வழி நாடல். You are going into the forest tracks, looking for something or the other. You are going to get lost. In the forest path, the first thing that happens to you is use your direction. And you do not even know how to come back. You are fixed there. You are trapped there in that place. காட்டு வழி நாடல் ஒழிந்து, leave this method of going outside. And உன்முகத்தே நாட்டத்தை மாற்றி நடக்கை நன்று என் பாதம். Padam says, change your direction, go inside and look within. He also says, a beautiful verse, மகிதலத்தில் எத்துணைதான் மாட்சி படைத்தாலும் அகமுகத்தில் அன்றி அமைதி இன்று என் பாதம். You may reap a lot of benefits in this world, outside world, mahitalam. In this world, you may achieve a lot of things, go a lot of places, get power, get money, get everything that you want. But all those things will not give you peace of mind. On the other hand, the peace is lost by all these acquisitions and trying to become powerful, trying to become wealthy, trying to become better than the other person. What happens is, you lose your peace of mind. And we don't even know that the most valuable thing is the peace of mind. You may have everything in life, but if you don't have a peace of mind, then what happens? As you all know, there was a great novelist by name Somerset Maugham, very popular in those days. A person who wrote so many books and then became very famous. He came to the ashram. He would visit a lot of places, gather a lot of information, and he was famous for writing a lot of stories, imaginations and so on. He came to the ashram that is described in number of places. And Somerset Maugham met Major Chadwick, another Englishman from his own country. He was surprised to see him totally looking like a Deshi. He was having that veshti and he would have that jibba and with a bottu. He would look like a Tamil Iyer. And he was very interested, very impressed by seeing him, and he was puzzled also. So he was wondering, why did this man, he was a major at that time, very well placed, but then he left everything and then he was staying in the ashram. So, unable to contain his curiosity, Somerset Maugham asked Major Chadwick, what really makes you leave all those things and then stay here? It's a God-forsaken place. He says, Arunachalam, it's a God-forsaken place, and so very hard, so so difficult to adjust to. This culture is so very different. Whatever you eat is so different from what we normally eat. What made you give up all these things and then come and then sit here? It seems Chadwick answered, I have peace of mind here. When he answered that way, Somerset Maugham himself writes this. He thought, I don't have a problem like this myself. He thought that looking for peace of mind is actually a problem, a mental problem. Who would look for a peace of mind? People look for, things like, position in life, power, and all these things. But who looks for peace of mind? So the value for peace of mind is not known in the beginning. We all substitute that brief pleasures that we get in the outside world, we take that to be happiness. We feel that that is enough. There is nothing beyond that. Only when you start enjoying real peace, one knows the value of peace. We do this every day. We get deep, in the deep sleep, we get immense amount of happiness. We look forward to the sleep. But once you wake up, you discount whatever has happened in deep sleep. We don't even know the value. Whatever we do, we are doing only to get that happiness which is unmixed with unhappiness. It is unadulterated happiness. We get that in the deep sleep, but we do not count it as a real state. For us, that is to be ignored because it was all enjoyed in an unconscious manner. We don't even bother about it. The real value of peace is not recognized by us in this manner. So he says, you may get everything in life. You may become a very, very great person. Mahithalathil yettunaidan maatchi padaithalum. However great you achieve, great heights you go. Ahamuhattilandri amaidi indru en padam. So Muruganar says, actually he seems to say that except for the way in, there is no way out. Except for the way in, there is no way out. If you really want that deep peace, that lasting peace, only thing that you have to do is to go inwards. This ahamuham alone will give you that. In another place, Muruganar talks about this ahamuham. He says, Nadadu nadum aha nattame, Nadadu nadum aha nattame, Tan uruvil kodada sempurulai kuttum enum padam. He says, Nadadu nadum, seeking without seeking. Nadudal as a verb, it means it is seeking. Nadadu nadum aha nattame. This seeking within yourself, which is not a seeking as such, he says, Tan uruvil kodada. Kodada means changeless. There is a changeless aspect within us, which is the real I. The I that we experience in this wakeful state, this I keeps changing all the time. The moods change, our roles change. And there is nothing but change in this feeling of I throughout. In the course of the day, one can see oneself very happy. Immediately after some time, when we hear some other news, we become very, very, very sad. It keeps on changing. But all this changing it depends upon a changeless base. The real I is unchanging and available to us all the time. But we ignore that. We don't even count it as important. We ignore that real I that we have, and then we catch hold of this false I, and then we enjoy, we feel sad, we go through all these changed moods in our life and become miserable. So here Muruganar says, Nadadu Nadum. It is a seeking without seeking. This ahamukam is a seeking without seeking, in the sense, normal seeking is the subject seeking an object. Is it not? Everything that we do is something that of an objective nature. We catch hold of an object and then we seek that, a car, a house, a job, whatever it is. We keep on seeking a subject, seeking an object. But this is not that. Here you seek the subject itself. That's why he says the nadad nadum. This is a seeking which is a different one. You seek the subject and not the object. So that's why he says, Nadadu nadum aha nattame tan uruvil kodada, the changeless semporul, the changeless purna vastu, that is your aim. You can get it only by looking within and then do this seeking. So according to Bhagavan, ahamukam is the first step in Atma Vichara. If somebody wants to really take up Atma Vichara, he has to learn to look within. This ahanattam, ahamukam, this has to be learned and one has to train oneself. The mind goes out all the time, but unless one trains the mind and then turn it around, it is like sending the river back. Normally the river flows into the outside world. The river of the mind keeps on flowing outside. And this aspect of turning it within is the most difficult thing. Everybody experiences the thing. Bhagavan says, in the beginning, it may look difficult, but by training the mind to look within all the time, one can steady the mind. There is no other go, because the only clue that is available to us towards that real I, that Swarupam, that Atma Swarupam, the only clue that is available to us is the I that is available. I is the door. We have to keep knocking on the door. Then only the I, the door, opens up and we go beyond this world, and then we get into that state, supreme state of being the real. So Bhagavan says, better start with ahamukam if you are interested in Atma Vicharam. Nothing else is going to work for you. All other paths will ultimately lead to this stage where you have to look within. So why not begin in the beginning itself? So in his verse, in Arunachala Pancharatnam, where he starts with this word, ahamukam, ahamukamar anda amalamaditannal ahamidudan yengelum endru ainde. Where does this I come out of? When you do this scrutiny, when you constantly do this scrutiny, ahauruvai nangarindu munnir nadipolum oyume ungan arunachalane. He says, this mind becomes quiet, it subsides. The one that is being the mischief maker, throwing you out, pulling you out and throwing you out, this mischief maker finally takes rest, Shamyati Arunachala. In the Sanskrit version, Bhagavan says Shamyati. The mind becomes quiescent. It subsides completely, like a river flowing into the ocean. A river flowing into the ocean loses in individuality, and all the rivers that go into the ocean, they don't retain their individuality once they merge with the ocean. It is just water. Then all the individuality is lost in that deep ocean, which is Arunachala, the deep ocean of consciousness. Our individual consciousness merges in that and then goes. And what you need to do is, Bhagavan says, Ahamukam ar anda amalamati tannal. Aham idudan yengalum endrainde. Bhagavan's Atma Vicharam used to take the form of, he used to say, who am I? Ask this question. Whenever there is a thought, whenever there is some reaction in you, ask this question, who am I? Or he used to say, find out the source of this ego. Where from is this I coming? Kutoham, koham. These are all aids. They ultimately lead you to keep your attention on that I. To become continually aware of that I within, which feels that it is responsible for all the actions of the mind and the body. That I, you catch hold of that I. Pay attention to that constantly. And do that in a manner not by thinking about it. If you think about it, then it becomes an objective seeking. In the beginning, it would take the form of thinking about it. You think about it, there is a mental activity involved in this ahamukam, in this atma vicharam, there is a mental activity involved. But only for some time. It should really give way to a deeply felt feeling of I. This feeling is deeper than the thinking process. Thinking at the superficial level, there is a deep feeling. Bhagavan uses this word in Tamil, feeling and all, I sense and all these things, when they are translated into a language like English, it becomes a little difficult for us to follow. Bhagavan uses the word tan unarvu. Iruppu unarvu, he says. Iruttal plus unarvu. To be and to be conscious. I am and I am conscious that I am. This is the fact. This being and consciousness is the primary thing, and then trying to hold on to that beingness, you go from a level of thinking into a level of feeling. That level of feeling, if you are able to access that and then maintain that feeling for longer and longer periods of time, then this feeling expands and slowly becomes a being. This feeling itself, I feeling, gives place, gives way to a deeper sense of being, a deeper sense where the personality drops off. Ultimate aim is for this ego to drop off, this personality to drop off. That egoless state, whether you surrender totally to the Lord or you look at the origin of this ego and then lose the ego. Ayi patatyaham nija vicharanam, says in Upadesha Saram. Ayi uses the word ayi. It's a wonder of wonders. It's a term of wonderment. Ayi. When you ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvataha, where from is this I rising? When you deeply think about it, a miracle happens, a magic happens. The I started this particular process of scrutiny of its own pay, that I itself disappears. Thedinal ottam pidikkum, he says in Ulladu Narpadu. Once you look for the I runs away. Because the I normally is an unstable compound. When When we wake up from sleep, when this I comes out, along with the I, the world also rises. The I always gets associated with something or the other. Bhagavan says in one place, in talks, that from the sleep, for a brief period of time, a fraction of a second, before the actual I comes out, what is experienced is pure consciousness, pure aham. That alone prevails. And he calls it as a transition period. From deep sleep into wakefulness, there is a brief period where self is accessible. But that quickly changes into, it evolves into aham and idam, he says. I think talk number 313 or 314, he says this aham evolves into aham plus idam, I and this. That kind of a thing happens, and this kind of an association is with us all the time. There is no self-standing I experienced by us in our wakeful state. I does not stand. We don't say, for example, I and then keep quiet. You say that I go there, I want to do this, I am this. All these things are always in association with something or the other, and the association is broken by this process of constantly paying attention to this aham. By constantly looking into this aham, by paying attention to this aham, this unnatural association is broken. When it is broken, when aham and idam are separated out, both of them fall down. So the I itself collapses. I patati aham. This is the nija vicharanam. The real inquiry is when the mind disappears, when the I itself falls down and completely disappears. Look for that. And that is the actual final emancipation. So Bhagavan says, begin with this ahamukam. It may be difficult in the beginning. We are not able to sustain this attention on the I for a long period of time. So in this Atma Vicharam verse in Pancharatnam, Bhagavan mentions the key operative word there is Amala Mati Tannal. One has to have a pure mind. Atyamala Dhiya. In Sanskrit, he says Ati Amala Dhiya. Not just ordinary Amalam, Ati Amalam. It has to be perfectly pure. When the mind is perfectly pure, it is able to do this job of clinging on to the I constantly and then loses itself. So one of the conditions that he puts is, it has to be pure. And what makes purity? How do you really make mind pure? We all know there should not be any desires, there should not be any attachments. The whole list is there. In fact, if you really want to know, the Vedantins will start talking about sadhana chatushtayam. There are a huge list of qualities that one has to develop. Vivekam one has to have, Vairagya one has to have. And there are a group of 6 treasures, they called us Shakka Sampatti. 6 treasures which are, Shamam, Damam, Uparati, Titiksha. I talked about Titiksha the other day. All these things, a whole list of things are there to make the mind pure. Moment you look at this list, you lose your heart because it's so difficult. How can we all develop all these things one by one? So what Bhagavan says is, just keep to this ahamukam. Atma Vicharam itself is preparation for Atma Vicharam. The best form of preparation for Atma Vicharam is Atma Vicharam. So what he means by this is, you begin somewhere. Start the process of Atma Vicharam. However inefficient, however ineffective your attempt is, it goes a long way. This itself is a purification process. Even though you are not able to stay within the self for a long time, even though your mind gets bahirmukam immediately, even then, continue to do this. Don't lose hope. So this is the way to keep on going within. And unless you go within and reach that state of the aham, you are are not in a position to look inside and break the habit of going out. There is no other go. He says, whatever you do in life, unless you practice this ahamukam, you are not going to be successful. In Aksharamana Mali, there is an extraordinary verse about this. All of us know this. Tirumbi ahandanai dinam ahakkankan Tiriyum endranai en Arunachala. Bhagavan says, this is the Upadesham that Arunachala gave me. Arunachala, did you not tell me to turn within and look at myself? Ahamdanai dinam. Dinam here means constantly. This is where we fail. Briefly we are able to do that, but constantly, whole thing collapses. Atma Vicharam is more like a marathon race rather than a 100-meter dash. In 100-meter dash, what matters is your speed. But in a marathon, what matters is your endurance. You don't have to have speed. Atma Vicharam is an endurance test. We should not look for immediate results. 3 days we sit in meditation and do a bit of Atma Vicharam and we start looking for the results immediately. That is our problem. Patience is what wins this race. Constantly trying to train the mind to look within is what wins the race. Ultimately, it is going to happen sometime or the other. Don't ask this question, when am I going to get realized? Stay with it. Stay the course. You will find yourself calming down. You will find yourself losing interest in outside world. What you were interested just a few years back, you will find yourself, you will be really surprised to see all these things are just dropping off by themselves. They are leaving you. You don't even have to really make a great effort to leave them. They leave you. This starts happening continually. And ultimately one day, this aham, which has been troubling us, waiting is a great, patience and waiting. In one of his lectures, Nochurji mentioned about this patience and waiting. Nochur, Venkatraman. He said, look at Sabari, the story of Sabari in Ramayana. It is a lesson in sadhana because as a young girl, we all know the story, as a young girl of 8 or 9, she starts serving a guru. Her guru was Matanga Maharishi. She starts serving him. She does not know anything at all, a tribal girl, but she watches this holy person. She feels like serving him, starts loving him, and at a very young age, she starts serving him. He takes a lot of interest in her, but the time for him to go comes. So Matanga Maharishi tells Sabari, I have to go now. Time has come for me to go. Then she cries. He tells her, don't worry, Shri Rama will come to you. He is Vishnu himself. He and his brother, they will be coming. They will come and meet you. Wait for him. See him, because that darshan is what all these rishis are hoping for. You will get that darshan. Wait for him. And then he goes. And the girl believes him totally. And every day, from that time onwards, every day she would wait for two tall people. They'll be having bows and arrows in their hands. They'll be coming. She waits for them. And she would make a place ready. When they come, they have to sit here. And for them, some water will be kept. And for them to eat the fruits, we know, Sabari gathered all the fruits and then used to, every day she did it. She did not really tire of doing this job day in and day out. She would tell people nearby, small boys playing around, two tall people will be coming. When they come, please inform me. She would dare. And how many years she waited? 88 years. Patiently waiting. Every day doing the same thing. But she was absolutely convinced that they would come because her guru told her they would come. So they had to come. So Nuchurji mentioned it humorously when she told people around that two people would be coming. It seems those children who, my father also told me that this lady would be saying the same thing. My father also. So generation after generation of people were going, but she did not lose her patience. She did not lose her faith that would happen. That is the kind of faith that we require. You should have developed that kind of a patience, because after several crores of janmas, after so many lifetimes, innumerable lifetimes, we have come across a teaching which is direct, which is simple, which is authoritative. What Arunachala told him, Bhagavan has told us. And people who listened to this advice, they followed it and they became liberated. We saw all the devotees. What is there for us to really have doubt in? Just have the faith and it would happen. After so many crores of janmas, finally we have come to listen to this Upadesham. And now at this time, for us to say now, when is it going to happen? I've been doing this for the past 20 years, nothing has happened to me, this is just meaningless. You wasted so many crores of lives and you have come to the right fold, you have come to the right path, and Bhagavan says it will happen sometime or the other. Have faith in him and do this. And Bhagavan is so good as to say that Ahamukam itself is a purification process. You start it. Rather than doing it later, start it now. It will take you there. Theriyum entrane en Arunachala. Theriyum, it will be revealed to you. Theriyum is actually there is a connotation of, it's a gradual process. It will be revealed. Theriyum. One day or the other you will really come to know what it is. But what all you have to do is, Tirumbi Ahamdanai Dinam Ahakan Kan. That's all. It's a simple advice. And if we have the faith and we follow it, then we will definitely reach. And this is not opposed to the other path of surrender. They are complementary in nature. Because the final aim is to lose the ego. Both of them aim for the loss of the ego, and so both of them are really one and the same, expressed in different terms, that's all. Someone who is emotional, someone who has got a lot of faith, he will take up this surrender path because he believes. When somebody says that, you surrender and then you will be able to lose your thing, he believes in that and you do. But those who say that, no, I don't want to believe these things, I want to test it myself, I want to employ reasoning, to him Bhagavan says that you go through this Atma Vichara. So everybody is covered in the process. Those who are faithful and those who do not want to believe in anything. Bhagavan used to say, you may not believe in anything. You don't have to believe in God. But don't you believe in yourself? You can't say that I do not believe in myself, that I don't exist. It will be ridiculous for you to say that I do not exist. You exist. Do you know what exists? What is it that exists? Do you know that? Inquire within and find out, you will reach the same spot, he says. So whether this is this or that, ultimately it leads you to that, and both of them require the final loss of the ego. Ayipatatyaham nija vicharanam. This self-inquiry is something that does not demand of you to know the scriptures, to know so many things, to learn so many things. Just start from the fact of your own existence. Start from that fact and proceed from that and go deep within, and you will finally reach. Actually, this process of gradual thing is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Shanaihi Shanaihi Uparamet Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya. In the chapter on Dhyana Yoga, this verse comes. Shanaihi Shanaihi. Shanaihi means slowly. Don't hurry up anything. Slowly, slowly. Uparamet. Charm your mind. Entice your mind. Don't behave aggressively with the mind and try to suppress it. That is not going to work. Nigrahaha kim karishyati, he asks in some other place. By suppressing it, what are you going to achieve? Uparamet. Charm it. Entice it. With your buddhi held firm. Atma samstam manah kritva. Keep the mind in the Atman. Na kinchidapi chintayet. Don't think of anything. So Atma Vicharam has been presented by Lord Krishna. In fact, Bhagavan has selected this verse. He used to quote this verse very often. So it is a process which is a slow process, a steady process, and a process which is bound to lead you to the ultimate goal. Believe in it and take it up, is what Bhagavan says. And he says the first step is ahamukam, and this also happens to be the last step. The beauty of Atma Vicharam is you don't have to really assimilate so many different paths. You get into the train, only one train is there, and the train will take you to the destination. Only thing is you should not get off that train at any time. In between, you stay in the train, stay the course, ultimately it will take you there, and then you will be able to reach your goal. So ahamukam is such an important thing. Turning the mind, training the mind to look within is the most important step, and that is going to stand by us in good stead when we start cultivating that particular habit. So with this I will conclude my lecture today. Thank you.
10 more minutes, Mama. You want to talk about some reminiscences? Anything? You have 10 more minutes. You want to talk about his reminiscences from Shri?
Okay. So what comes to my mind, because you are giving me the time, is Tirumbi Ahandanai Dinamaha Kangan. This is how we pronounce it, and that is the way it should be pronounced. But it is written as Tirumbiya Kandanai. In actual poetic form, Tirumbiya Kandanai Dinamaha Kangan. And it seems there was a lady by name Tirupugal Alamelu Ammal. This is slightly aside from the main topic. Kunjaswami has talked about her. She had a vision of Subramanya Swami, and then she decided that I would worship only Subramanya Swami, Kandan, and nobody else. And her father, who was transferred to Tiruvannamalai as a girl, he wanted her to come with him to Ramanashramam and see Bhagavan. She refused. I'm not interested in seeing anybody. It seems that night she had a vision of Bhagavan as Subramanya Swami. So she was totally stunned by that vision in her dream. And then she told the next day to her father, I would come. Please take me. And then when she went, when she saw Bhagavan, again, she saw him as Subramanya Swami. Bhagavan has given the vision as Subramanya Swami to a number of people, and she is one of them. There was another person by name Vallimalai Sachidananda Swami. He also propagated Tirupugar a lot. So he also had a vision of Bhagavan as Subramanya Swami. So from that time onwards, she became greatly devoted to Bhagavan. And then when she did the Parayanam of this Aksharamana Malai, when she came to this verse, she would also always pronounce it Tirimbiya Kandanai Dinamaha Kangan. This Kanda who has come back to us once again, Subramanya Swami, who has descended once again onto this earth. Look at him in your inner vision. Call the time. Theriyum. You will know what the supreme truth is. And Kunju Swami mentions that this lady would always chant in this particular manner, and this is the reason behind the thing. I just thought that I would mention this. But if there is any other thing that you would like me to, any particular thing that you would like to either ask her, make a suggestion or some such thing.
Anyone? Anyone has anything? Generally, reminiscences what
Freewheeling.
Subramaniam, your Guru has.
Who?
I mean, K. Subramaniam.
KS Pati ஏதாவது சொல்லுவாங்க.
Who has interacted with Bhagavan, anything?
Dr. KS, our mentor in Hyderabad, the thing that he liked most about Bhagavan's characteristic was his accessibility. 24-hour accessibility. He used to say, it is impossible to give your time 24 hours to everybody else. He lived in the open. At 2 in the night, people used to come to the ashram. They would demand to be taken to Bhagavan's presence. Bhagavan would be available to them at that time. Some of them would say that I want to sing some bhajans, Bhagavan, here, because early morning I have to catch a train and go. Bhagavan said, yes, go ahead. He never had any time of his own. So he used to say that I came across a particular incident which is not recorded anywhere. I met a gentleman who told me about his own experience with Bhagavan one day. It seems this person wanted Bhagavan to talk to him. And he felt in his mind, I will not talk to Bhagavan. Bhagavan should talk to me. With that particular sankalpam, he goes to Bhagavan's presence. He sits there 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Bhagavan did not even look at him. Not a single. He was talking to all others, but he never said anything to this person. So how to make Bhagavan talk to me, he felt. And he did one day a very strange thing. In the night time, after dinner was over, everybody would gather around Bhagavan. A few, people would be talking about something, a few stories would be told, and then they would all go to sleep. At that time, in full public view, this gentleman went underneath the sofa of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is lying down, and he went underneath. Then he thought, by doing this, Bhagavan is sure to ask me, why are you doing this? Why are you coming under me? He would say something to me, and that is enough for me. He went inside, and it seems he told, Bhagavan did not ask him anything. Throughout the night, this person was underneath the sofa, and throughout the night, there was no word spoken. Next day morning, he came out, nothing happened, and then he says, but then something remarkable happened to me. Entire night, I was staying alert, thinking that Bhagavan would be at any time saying something or the other. I stayed alert. I did not go to sleep. I stayed alert, keenly waiting for Bhagavan's words, and that was like samadhi for me. I experienced a state of samadhi in that strange act that I did, and the manner in which Bhagavan was completely keeping himself to himself, the deep absorption. Nothing at all worried him. Nothing was strange for him. What we consider as strange was nothing at all for him. This is what I discovered. So, Dr. K.S. used to say, things like this used to happen in Bhagavan's presence. In his darbar, nobody should be excluded. The only demand, if at all it can be called as a demand, that Bhagavan gave, Bhagavan demanded only one thing, and that was, whoever wants to see me should be allowed to see me. Nobody should be turned away. Even though he was so detached from life, Vitaragamapi Lokavatsalam. You might remember that verse that I quoted from Kavya Kanta. Vitaragamapi Lokavatsalam. Vairagyam is something that is unbelievable. His withdrawal from the world was so total, but Lokavatsalam, his engagement, totally engaged and totally detached. Can we do that? To become totally engaged with our surroundings but totally detached at the same time. It came easy for Bhagavan. Vitaragamapi Lokavatsalam. There was a dog that used to sleep in the hall. And during winter time, and Bhagavan would not allow the dog to be removed. Everybody would be sleeping, the dog would also be sleeping in the hall. Bhagavan would not allow the dog to be removed from his presence. He would say, let it be there. Why are you driving it out? They used to say, no, it is me. Creating nuisance, committing nuisance in the night time, Bhagavan, we are not able to sleep here. Oh. But even then, Bhagavan, he came out with a solution which is only a Bhagavan can do. It seems at night at about 2 o'clock, he would wake up, take the dog, go out and make the dog ease itself outside and bring the dog back again. The nuisance factor of the dog is what is bothering you. I will take care of that. But don't drive the dog out. And when he walked out of the hall in the dead of the night, when it is totally dark, and there will be only bodies all around the sofa, everybody would be sleeping in the same place, and he would slowly pick his way out of the hall. And somebody presented a torch to him, what we call as a flashlight to him, and he used to make use of the flashlight to find his way out. And he will not shine the flashlight on the ground because that would disturb the people sleeping there. So he used to turn the flashlight the other way and shine it on his stomach. And with the reflected light of the torch, he would find his way and then go out. And he would be the only person who did not ask anybody, where are you coming from, what is your name, why are you coming, no questions asked. People would come and then meet him, any number of people, he will just smile. The only one thing that he used to ask people is, did you have your, like a mother would do, did you have your food? Have food and go. That was the only thing, only interaction. Where are you coming from? Who are you? Nothing at all. For him was no other. He was not somebody different from him. So that was his thing. But he would remember, because all the posts coming to the ashram would be shown to him, and after Bhagavan sees those letters and posts, then only they will go to the office. So he would know who is coming at what time. And he would remember 10 days hence, 1 month from now, what day somebody had written would be coming, at what time, he would remember that. And he would tell people, so and so would be coming, so keep some food ready. That's all. Somebody would be coming, keep some food ready in the ashram. And he would tell that to Kunju Swami or somebody who is there, an attendant with him. And Kunju Swami says at one time, it seems like this. Bhagavan said, they will be coming in the night, keep some food. So he thought Bhagavan was talking about some people who late night train, they may be coming. Maybe he has picked it up from some post, that some letter that came to him. So he thought that. At about 12 in the night, I believe, there was a barking sound outside. And then Bhagavan, it seems, woke up Kunju Swami. They have come. He went out, he saw 2 dogs. And Bhagavan said, I believe, give the food to them. Kunju Swami says that kind of karunyam is so very difficult to find. There was once a dog which was fully diseased. Entire body was full of pus. It was stinking. And whenever the dog tried to approach Bhagavan, people would shoo that away, drive it away. This was going on for some time. 3 or 4 days afterwards, one night, Bhagavan got up. Normally he used to get up to answer call of nature. So he got up and he was going out, and an attendant would normally follow him. That day the attendant also followed him. Up to a certain extent he followed Bhagavan, and afterwards he heard some very strange sounds, and Bhagavan was talking to somebody. Bhagavan said, that is enough. Is it not enough for you? That is enough. Like that he was saying something, and he was hearing some strange sounds. He went near to see what it was, and that disease-ridden dog, I believe, was licking Bhagavan all over the body. Bhagavan was patiently sitting there, allowing it to lick his body continuously for some time. He did not know what to do. Then, after some time, it is enough, you go now. Like that, he softly told, got up and then came. Then he saw the attendant standing there in a stunned manner, amazed manner. And it seems he offered some water to Bhagavan to wash his body. He said no. And then he told him, for 3 days he has been trying to see me. And for 3 days he has been driven out of this place. That is why I went to see him today. Went out to see him today. Next day morning, I believe, they found the dog dead in the ashram premises. It was for Bhagavan's touch that the dog was waiting. So these are all the stories that Dr. K.S. would relate in all the satsangs. It would be all about the compassion, the human dimension of Bhagavan. We all look at him as a rishi, but he was a perfect man. That humaneness was a perfect example. Nrinam nidarsanamayam, says Kavyakanta. Shantir nidhantamadika paramasya shakti. The last verse in the 40 verses in praise of Bhagavan. Shantir nidhantamadika paramasya shakti. Vairagyam adbhutatamam. Karuna tu sandra. Jnanam nirasta kuhanam madhuram chavrittam. Every one of this story, it is so moving. Madhuram chavrittam. And then finally he ends the whole thing. Nrinam, for all the humankind, for all the men, nidarsanamayam. He is an example to be followed. Ramano Maharshi. He is just not a Maharshi. He is also a perfect human being. So, these were some of the things